Well, hello again. This is Dr. Kyle Smith, and I'm very excited about sharing this webinar with you this afternoon. Today, I want to have fun with this information. My goal is to bring you knowledge about science-based memory-enhancing bioenergetic nutrition. These are nutrients, a category of nutrients in science that are well substantiated. They're proven to have short-term and long-term brain benefits. And it's beyond my honor to be able to share this information with you. I want to show you the peer-reviewed research literature so you know beyond a shadow of a doubt when you share this information with friends and family, you're bringing them incredible life-changing benefit. The reality is this is a very deep well. You know, there's a lot of information. These nutrients that we're going to look at have been studied for decades. They're not new nutrients generally, but the exciting thing is science is ongoing, as you're going to see, and the direction science is heading is very promising for us, extraordinarily promising for us. So let me mention, I imagine you know my background. My bio is at the Better Body, Brighter Mind website. It's on the back of the book. But the part of my bio that I want to share is my passion, and for the last few years, I've been traveling across the country doing continuing education programs for doctors, where I'm blessed because doctors are in attendance to learn how to utilize nutrition in their practice. And I get to teach them that usually over 1 or 2 days or a couple hours. So it's an exciting field. More and more doctors are interested in this, so there's a huge need for it. But I'm saying all that to say, the information I'm sharing with you today really comes out of those lectures. So I'm going to show you what I show doctors, and I'm going to show you the practical take-home message and how specifically this information impacts your and your family's life. So here we go. My favorite part of sharing this kind of information is the fact that I get to show you other people's research. I get to show you the peer-reviewed research. So I'd like to tell you that what I'm sharing with you today is not really my opinion. I'm like a tour guide showing you the science in this category today. But at the end of the day, you know, everything I say is peppered with my opinion. I think my opinion is valid because I've been studying this for really 22 to 25 years, and it's been in application either in practice or research for at least 17. So there's a long history of my studying these kind of nutrients. So the most exciting part, and the part that I usually begin with, is this slide right here. There's a new brain paradigm, and it's important for me to set the stage with you to let you know this. The old brain paradigm, which is proven to be false and not true, is what I was taught when I grew up, and probably you too, depending on your age. When I was growing up, I was taught that a baby or a human was born with all the neurons that he or she would ever have. And they basically told us directly that with every ticking pass of the clock, we became dumber and dumber and weaker. So we could expect brain aging to be a normal part. And we would expect a 60-year-old to not be as sharp as he was when he was in his 30s. Well, here's the beautiful thing. That old brain paradigm that you could sum up in the phrase, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, is a lie. Now, it wasn't intentionally a lie. It was based on science back in the 80s and 90s. But today, in 2015, we know that's false, that there's a new brain paradigm. And that new brain paradigm tells us that the brain is continually remolding and rewiring itself based on environment. It's beautiful. A 60-year-old has this promise. A 70-year-old and 80-year-old has this promise if they know what to do. And of course, when you're younger, this mechanism works beautifully. It goes like this. If I, in my 50s, like I am, sit down to learn the piano, and let's say I've never played the piano before in my life, you and I know that if I practice day in and day out, month in and month out, over a year, if I'm diligent with my practice, I could probably play you a beautiful song or sonata, right? Well, what happened? Every day when I practice, my brain makes new neural connections to make that task easier and easier. So a year from now, my brain is different. It's molded itself into what I practiced, and now I can sit down at the piano and play without even thinking about it. I might be able to talk to you while I'm playing a piece on the piano. You've all seen this before. Musicians that don't even have to think about what they do because it becomes their second nature. Well, not that they would want this, but at autopsy, if we looked at their brain, we would find out that the connections in those regions associated with those actions are all beautifully interconnected like superhighways. And in a person that never played the piano, no connections are there. So the beautiful thing is our brain becomes who we are, and it's constantly remolding and rewiring itself. Even at 60, 70, 80, or older, we have the ability to make new neurons called neurogenesis and new connections. That's called neurite outgrowth. We're going to take a look at that. This process is driven by four major things. You could say five: diet, nutrition, exercise, the thoughts you think, and the actions you take. So we really should make it five. Bottom line is thoughts are powerful. We know people that are worrywarts. They worry all the time. They don't even have a reason to worry, but they'll find that. That's because in their brain, they've created superhighway connections for worry. We found people that are grateful all the time. Here's the beautiful part. You start thinking grateful thoughts, you take the right nutrients, you can increase those superhighways and become a more grateful person. You can change your destiny and change your life. So this is a beautiful story. This environment in the brain is driven by what we eat, the nutrition in what we eat, or the supplements we take, the physical exercise and mental exercise we do or don't do, the thoughts we think, and the actions that we take. The beautiful part is there are key nutrients that are building blocks for neurotransmitter function. Neurotransmitters are the natural chemical messages or messengers your brain makes that make connections with each other. There are trillions of connections in your brain. These connections are separated by tiny small gaps called synapses, and it takes these neurotransmitters to cross the gap and complete a thought, an action, or anything that you do. Your perception of this webinar, you're hearing it and remembering it and telling somebody hopefully this afternoon, has to do with the nutritional factors that build these neurotransmitters. And if they're not there, guess what? You can't remember, you can't think, you can't focus, you can't concentrate. Even your mood is significantly interrupted. Maybe you're irritable or depressed. So there's key nutrients that are missing in our diets today that are necessary to build neurotransmitters. And in addition, there's key nutrients that reduce oxidative stress in the brain. When we take them, they slow brain aging and they improve brain function. We can improve brain function with these nutrients. These nutrients, like I'm going to mention to you right now, and I'll tell you one of my favorites we're going to spend some time on is Acetyl L-Carnitine. This ingredient releases nerve growth factor, and that decreases depressive symptoms. It lifts mood in healthy adults and otherwise healthy adults. In addition, it improves what's called cholinergic neurotransmission, and cholinergic neurotransmitters are neurotransmitters like acetylcholine that have everything to do with focus, concentration, and memory. And finally, when they improve cholinergic neurotransmission, they also decrease the ghrelin hunger hormone. What that means is when people take acetyl L-carnitine, they typically tell you their appetite is not what it used to be. They don't crave carbs, and guess what happens? They start losing weight. Interestingly, that all occurred by improving brain function. Our brain regulates every organ, gland, tissue, and system. So what should come first is healthy brain function, and generally everything else follows. So what's the take-home message on this page? Our brain is continually remodeling itself, remodeling itself at any age, and we can fuel that process by taking the right nutrients, and that's what this webinar is about. So a good point is to let you know that there's a large percentage of the American population that don't consume enough nutrients. They're either nutrient deficient, literally on blood tests and tissue samples, or they have suboptimal nutritional intakes. Either one affects brain function. At least 1/3 of our population today, and we're talking about all socioeconomic groups, doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, healthy, not healthy, if you take a look at the population, about 1/3 underconsume vitamin B3, B2, B12, B1, and C. So these are really important core nutrients you don't want to go a day without, and you can assume most of the population aren't consuming them, or they've chosen a lousy store-bought multivitamin that doesn't provide the right sources or forms. 75% of all women significantly underconsume magnesium, 50 to 71% of all men, and 70 to 90% of all women underconsume vitamin B6. At the right hand of your slide, you'll see folic acid is another. 50 to 90% of the United States population are deficient in this nutrient. There's several of them. We don't have time to cover them all today, but I just want to make a really good point. Here's the good point. These nutrients that I'm quoting to you are necessary to build the neurotransmitters. And these neurotransmitters, when they fall, they create symptoms. Take a look at just this. The effects of a vitamin B6 deficiency: fatigue, nervousness, anxiety, depression, irritability, mood swings. Can you think of anybody maybe in your family right now that's fatigued all the time, or they've got anxiety, or they're mildly depressed? You know, they've got a problem with irritability or mood swings. Poor memory, poor response or adaptation to stress. Again, I'm repeating this. 50 to 71% of all men And 70 to 90% of all women underconsume vitamin B6, and 75% of all women underconsume magnesium. So when you get into brain nutrition, there are awesome ingredients like acetyl L-carnitine we're about to talk about, but you can't miss the basics. The basics have to be there. So in the past, when I formulated nutritional supplements, I've always made sure that these nutrients are present in the right sources, in the right forms, to help the more interesting ingredients like acetyl L-carnitine do their job. And that's the magic behind formulation. Again, this is just an overview because we don't have all day, but I just wanted to make this really important point. So one of my favorite papers that I talk about, and generally this would be a 2 to 3 hour discussion with doctors in a continuing education program. This paper is called Oxidative Stress and Cognitive Longevity. You can search on that title and find that in Google. You'll find it at basically the journal Nutrition. It's a credible journal. Our researcher here is extraordinarily credible. He says maintenance of antioxidant balance within the central nervous system can prevent cognitive decline and promote or advance cognitive longevity. That's huge because many of us, remember, we're told that you can't do much about brain aging. You just can expect to have poor mental function when you're older. According to this paper and according to science, that's not true anymore. Certain nutrients have strong neuroprotective antioxidant properties. They protect brain cells and they reduce oxidative structural damage. Oxidative structural damage is one of the number one ways the researchers believe our brain ages today. So reversing that or protecting from it is the key to slowing the aging process and improving cognitive or brain function. The brain, now this is a long quote, but stick with it. The brain is a continuously operating, high-intensity antioxidation battleground prone to oxidative imbalance during times of high demand for complex cognitive activity. What is he saying? Well, he's telling us the reality is that if I, say for example, have a really lousy breakfast, and let's say that's just a breakfast in a box, some cold cereal, and I go to work and I have a really extraordinarily hard day, let's say it's stressful, I'm working on a project, the regions of my brain that are necessary for me to think and remember, they literally heat up with oxidative stress. I heard a doctor say it's kind of like a chemical burn is the way you can think of this. These brain cells, if they're not protected with antioxidants, when that oxidative stress occurs, they are damaged on a micro level. And it may not make a big deal that day, but if this occurs day in and day out over years and decades, it's the very cause of brain aging. That's terrible. The reality is I could have changed my destiny by just what I ate for breakfast. If I had a breakfast that was full of organic berries like blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, some farm fresh eggs, and maybe an avocado. I know that may not sound like what you usually have for breakfast, but think about that. It's providing a ton of antioxidants through those berries. And as I'm working throughout the day and as those regions of my brain cells are heating up, those antioxidants wash over those brain cells and protect them from this oxidative stress. Thus, if I do this day in and day out over decades, my brain function is left intact. What's the message? The message is we are in control today of our destiny when it comes to brain aging. We can slow, halt, and reverse the process of brain aging by being very aware of what we eat, our diet, the nutrients we take, how we exercise every day. Isn't that cool? So that's what science promises. So let me show you some details about that. This slide has some interesting information on it. I want to let you know that this slide comes directly out of the paper that we just quoted. This ingredient, Acetyl L-Carnitine, is shown to improve ATP regeneration. That's energy in the brain, and it improves the neurotransmitter called acetylcholine in the synaptic space. In addition, this ingredient has neuroprotective antioxidant properties that reduce oxidative structural damage in neuronal mitochondria by increasing the resistance of mitochondrial RNA to damage, basically. So my point is, if you get this paper, you're going to see these arrows right in this section talking about acetyl L-carnitine. And the claim to fame for this nutrient that makes it so famous in nutrition science is on the bottom right-hand quadrant of your page. That's a mitochondria. The mitochondria are the only way your brain receives energy. These mitochondria actually build energy from the nutrients that you consume on a daily basis. That's diet and nutrition. These mitochondria build ATP. The key is when we're young, our brain cells have lots and lots of them. And when we're older, they diminish. Our brain cells typically have less. This ingredient, acetyl L-carnitine, acts as a mitochondrial antioxidant. It protects these mitochondria from damage. And if that's all it did, it would be a very worthy nutrient to take on a daily basis, but that's not all it does. It protects the mitochondria from damage, protecting what you've got right now, brain function-wise. In addition, it helps build this neurotransmitter called acetylcholine that has everything to do with focus, concentration, memory, and learning. And then finally, listen to this, it helps your brain go through what's called mitochondrial biogenesis, which means your brain will make more and more of these mitochondria over time, over 6 months or a year, for example. And what that means over time is 6 months or a year from now, your brain will have the capacity to make more energy than it does right now. So this nutrient builds immediate benefits by improving brain energy. You can feel that. It's experiential. It protects brain cells from oxidative damage, and it improves your brain's ability to make energy long term. The more you take this ingredient day in and day out, the more benefits you receive. So very important to take it every day. And then, of course, it's going to boost that neurotransmitter called acetylcholine, which is literally going to enhance focus, concentration, memory, and learning. Isn't that beautiful? That's this ingredient. So looking at this ingredient, the first point I want you to see is it's naturally occurring. It already is in your body right now. It naturally occurs throughout the human brain, central nervous system, spinal cord, motor nerves, and skeletal muscle. Again, it's a potent neuroprotector. It protects brain cells. It has strong intrinsic antioxidant properties. That means it's an antioxidant itself, but listen to this. It stimulates the synthesis of natural endogenous antioxidants. These are antioxidants your body makes. It stimulates the production or the synthesis of glutathione and superoxide dismutase. Glutathione is huge. It's an anti-aging molecule. To the degree your blood levels and your brain levels are higher of this ingredient, you will age slower compared to if they're not. And this ingredient, acetyl L-carnitine, builds your two major brain and body antioxidants, glutathione and superoxide dismutase, building and enhancing both brain and body benefits. So this ingredient, in summary, it improves ATP production. That's energy, that's brain energy. You can feel it generally in 20 to 30 minutes. It improves acetylcholine, that neurotransmitter associated with focus, concentration, memory, and learning. It improves cholinergic neurotransmission, meaning the whole category of brain cells that use the nutrient or the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. It enhances this category. It improves mood, motivational behavior, improves cognitive function, brain functioning across the board. It improves attention comprehension. It improves memory concentration. It improves problem solving. It decreases mental fatigue, and it improves mental energy. Again, one nutrient brings all these benefits. This is certainly a nutrient you never want to go a day without. So what does it do for memory? Maybe this is the most fascinating part. When you improve brain energy, ATP, natural brain energy, and you improve that neurotransmitter acetylcholine, take a look at what the science shows. There are 23 peer-reviewed scientific references that show that acetyl L-carnitine enhances the formation of short-term memory. There's 22 peer-reviewed references that state that acetyl L-carnitine enhances the consolidation of long-term memory. Acetyl L-carnitine enhances the ability to create new memories, and it enhances the ability to retrieve memories. Acetyl L-carnitine enhances the ability to learn. Acetyl L-carnitine enhances the ability to recall information and enhances the ability to concentrate. And acetyl L-carnitine enhances the ability to reason and solve problems. So if we stopped this webinar right here, I've given you some potent ammunition. Through diet, you know right now you can help protect your brain function. From diet alone, just making better choices for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What does that mean? Breakfast should have lots of organic berries, seeds, nuts, fruits if possible, with some healthy protein and maybe healthy fats from avocado. Lunch should be a salad, for example, with healthy proteins, and dinner should be full of lots of vegetables, seeds, and nuts. If you eat this way day in and day out, you're protecting brain function. If you add to that this one ingredient, take a look at what you're going to be doing for your brain short-term and long-term. So again, if we ended the webinar right now, I've given you an arsenal of information that should serve to heal, help, and serve your family and your friends for decades to come. And I hope that you will engage this information today and make sure that you never go a day literally without acetyl L-carnitine and eating an antioxidant-rich diet. The information that I just quoted to you has been in science probably since 2005 to present. But what's beautiful about this nutrient is it's ever expanding. Science is constantly looking at this nutrient. Researchers are forever researching new applications of this ingredient. Literally, like I said earlier, the well is a very deep well. This is a current search of PubMed. Now, PubMed is the National Library of Medicine online. There's at least 14 million peer-reviewed citations online right now, and it grows literally every day. It's incredible. This time and age that we live in, the fact that you can access with your computer, you can access all this information. You go to PubMed, do a search on acetyl L-carnitine like I did at the top. Can you see that? And then this is what you're going to find. Look at this. In just 2015, April, we see a publication, Neuropathic Pain. Acetyl L-carnitine can alleviate peripheral neuropathic pain. Look at the second reference. Acetyl L-carnitine in relationships with dementia and depression pathophysiology. This was published in March 2015. My point is, you're going to find probably today, in this month, a brand new publication. This is an ever-expanding field. This ingredient is unbelievable with regards to its brain and body benefits. It's an amazing ingredient. Again, you never want to go a day without. My point in showing this to you is it's not like I'm quoting to you just old research. The research in this ingredient is ongoing. We literally could spend all day talking about this nutrient and not exhaust the peer-reviewed research and the different applications. I can't think of a more important one. Take a look at reference number 4. It shows that acetyl L-carnitine in fibromyalgic patients with fibromyalgia, seems to be very effective. It's an incredible, incredible ingredient. The story just goes on and on. I could talk about it until my wife falls asleep, and believe me, she has on me before. And I know you might be done with this subject, so let me move on, right? Take a look at this. We're going to switch now. Our theme is evolving research. Evolving research again. Brain-enhancing drinks. Green tea should be the vehicle of choice. That's in the top left-hand quadrant of your paper. Take a look at the bottom right-hand quadrant. The drink that makes you remember. Again, they're talking about green tea. Interestingly, in March 2014, researchers at the University of Basel found that drinking green tea extract enhances memory performance. The researchers used green tea extract, which contains a lot more EGCG than in a cup of green tea brewed at home. Look at the bottom left-hand quadrant of your paper. There's currently no cure for dementia, and the World Health Organization estimated that 35.6 million people were suffering from it in 2012, with this number set to double by 2030. These statistics are fueling investment in research to prevent and or halt the onset of dementia. What you're going to find is researchers are looking into acetyl L-carnitine. Researchers are looking deep into this new botanical ingredient we're talking about, green tea. This is an amazing ingredient in and of itself because green tea is a potent brain cell protector. Matter of fact, let me give you a quote. In all of the years that I've engaged in research and clinical application of brain nutrients, I've never seen a field grow faster than green tea. Researchers right now really appear to be believing that this ingredient can be the cure for dementia. Now, it's not proven yet, but that's certainly the path that they're on. And let me show you why. There's an active ingredient in green tea called epigallocatechin gallate. It's the only substance on earth where this really exists in a very high amount. And it exhibits a powerful ability to protect brain cells from free radical activity. Again, that category of oxidative stress. It's a broad spectrum effective antioxidant that easily crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it's 25 to 100 times more potent than vitamin C and E. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, just 10 years ago, vitamin C and E were the belle of the ball. You were even on the cover of magazines, but now we know there's ingredients like a green tea extract, specifically epigallocatechin gallate, that are many times more potent. In addition, incidence of cancer, heart disease, and dementia are significantly lower, and that's why researchers are really mining this category to try to find out why these populations have a lower risk of cognitive decline. This is what's called an epidemiological study. We looked at, or rather the study looks at, a whole population. And what they showed in this population was higher consumption of green tea was associated with a 38% lower prevalence of cognitive impairment. Now, that's a huge statement. To a researcher, there's something incredible going on there. for you to decrease a whole population's chance of having cognitive impairment by as much as 38%. Researchers stated that this ingredient, EGCG, modulates cell survival and cell cycle genes. It looks like it affects genetic information in brain cells. It promotes neurite outgrowth activity. Neurites are little connections like green leaves on a healthy tree. The more green leaves on a healthy tree, the more healthy you and I perceive that tree to be. It's the same thing with your brain. The more neurite outgrowth activity, the better that individual has making connections and learning. And in addition, EGCG exerts neuroprotective and neurorescue efforts. That word neurorescue is interesting. It means what it says. It appears it can rescue weak neurons and help them regain health. An amazing ingredient. Again, never seen research grow faster than the category of this ingredient, this botanical. If you look it up in PubMed, you've got to spell it Epidemiologic Study, like we showed on the previous slide, and you'll find the research behind it. So what about the caffeine in green tea? I have to make a statement. Obviously, God made green tea with caffeine in it. We don't find a decaffeinated green tea on the planet. So this plant, why does it have caffeine in it? Is caffeine beneficial or is it deleterious to brain function? You know, the media would have you think that caffeine is, quote, bad. But let me tell you, they're quoting synthetic caffeine added to energy drinks when they talk about it being bad. And they're quoting, unfortunately, young boys, usually teenagers, who sit down to maybe a six-pack of energy drinks to see what that'll do for them. You know, it's dangerous activity. Teenagers take dangerous activities, but if any human drinks 6, for example, energy drinks in a sitting, they're going to have a problem. The problem is that synthetic caffeine is in amounts that are way out of proportion with anything that would happen in a natural beverage. So a natural ingredient like green tea that has caffeine, take a look at the research. This is a new paper I'm quoting, published in the journal Nutrition, again by this researcher. The title, Caffeine, Not Just a Stimulant. Okay, well, what do we see in this paper? Caffeine is neuroprotective. It reduces oxidative stress as an effective scavenger of what's called singlet oxygen and hydroxyl radicals. So it is a potent brain cell protector in and of itself. It increases blood flow through the middle and anterior cerebral arteries. It increases functioning of the efficiency of neuronal networks, and it increases neuronal activity. So for brain function, I got to tell you, this ingredient is shown to actually enhance and support healthy brain function. It is beneficial to brain function, and we're looking at caffeine again. So obviously, the way Mother Nature intended, caffeine being present in green tea, that's not a bad thing, it's a very good thing. This is why, by the way, I'm an advocate for consuming caffeinated green tea and not decaffeinated green tea. So back to caffeine, we've heard it's dangerous. Take a look at this study. This study is going to contradict anything that you've heard on the radio or television. The science actually shows moderate intakes of caffeine pose no health risks. Now keep in mind, what's moderate? Moderate is a couple cups of coffee a day. Moderate is maybe 5 to 7 cups of green tea a day, maybe 10 because the caffeine is so low in green tea. But the bottom line is moderate intakes of caffeine pose no health risks. As a matter of fact, check it out, it's actually beneficial. The findings of what was called the Leisure World Cohort Study, more than 8,000 elderly women and almost 5,000 elderly men were studied for 23 years. This study indicated that the daily consumption of caffeine significantly decreased by 10% the risk of dying from any cause. The risk of dying from any cause was decreased by consuming a little bit of caffeine on a daily basis. Data from more than 27,000 postmenopausal women that were observed for more than 15 years during what was called the Iowa Women's Health Study demonstrated any amount of habitually consumed caffeinated coffee decreased the risk of death from cardiovascular disease by 15 to 25%, the number one killer in this country. And it decreased the risk of cardiovascular disease death by 15 to 25%. Let me pause right here and make a huge point. The television, the media may be trying to shock people into thinking caffeine is dangerous, but from natural sources like tea, green tea, and coffee in moderate amounts, the science shows it's actually beneficial. A 21-year study of initially middle-aged men and women, the Cardiovascular Risk Factors, Aging, and Dementia study found those subjects routinely consuming caffeine showed a significantly lower incidence of clinical dementia. Take a look at that again. A significantly lower incidence of clinical dementia. A 2009 Swedish study showed a 65% decreased risk of dementia or Alzheimer's disease, and that was published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease, a very credible journal. And finally, and by the way, when I say finally, this is a deep well too. This isn't all the science, but that finally for what we're going to talk about today, the risk of developing Parkinson's disease was found to be inversely proportional to routine caffeine intakes. Now that's fascinating. Inversely proportional is kind of like a seesaw, if you can visualize that. The more caffeine consumed, the decreased risk of Parkinson's disease. The less caffeine consumed, the higher the increased risk of Parkinson's disease. So there's a protective effect here, inversely proportional to routine caffeine intakes. What's the take-home message? It appears that a little bit of caffeine on a daily basis is protective of Parkinson's disease. Looks like it's protective of dementia. It looks like it decreases significantly the risk of Alzheimer's disease. Take a look at the middle bullet again. A 2009 Swedish study showed a 65% decreased risk of dementia or Alzheimer's disease. A 65% decreased risk, let me put that in real world terms. And this is just as accurate as I can make it. Let's pretend there's two cars in the parking lot. One of them has a 65% decreased risk of getting in an accident. Which car are you going to get into? Significantly less chance of you getting injured in that car with a 65% decreased risk of having an accident. So that is the subject of caffeine green tea. The active ingredient, epigallocatechin gallate, fascinating. One of the most rapidly growing categories in peer-reviewed science today. Another ingredient that uniquely shows up in green tea is called L-Theanine. This is a really interesting ingredient because it's a non-protein amino acid only found in green tea, and it has numerous of health promoting benefits. Traditional use, it enhances relaxation and improves concentration and learning ability. What's interesting is this ingredient protects brain cells from what's called excitotoxicity. It calms the nerve networks in the brain. Now, excitotoxins are in our diet today. For one of the famous ones is called monosodium glutamate. Again, monosodium glutamate is an excitotoxin that's actually very bad for brain cells. It is what it is. It's a toxin. This ingredient literally protects brain cells from that excitotoxicity. So having some green tea in your diet on a daily basis not only provides the epigallocatechin gallate, but also provides this L-Theanine, which is protective from this excitotoxicity that exists, unfortunately, in restaurants and in packaged foods that we buy at the grocery store. Interestingly, several studies have now shown that when you combine this L-Theanine with caffeine, the known benefits of caffeine are augmented in a really neat way. In other words, adding L-Theanine to caffeine leads to improved accuracy and speed of information processing, less susceptibility to distraction, improved switching between tasks, and less mental fatigue while improving reaction time and reducing physical symptoms such as tiredness. Lots and lots of benefits. Another bioenergetic ingredient that is my favorite, and I've formulated with this individual ingredient for years, is called dimethyl ethanol. Now, it's a long chemical name. It's a precursor of acetylcholine, much like acetyl L-carnitine, but this ingredient is not only normally found in the brain, but it's also a common part of fish like anchovies, sardines, squid, and wild Alaskan salmon. Now, in a public lecture, I often make a joke here, and I ask doctors how often do they think children are eating these sources, anchovies, sardines, squid, wild Alaskan salmon. I can tell you my children are no fans of these foods, maybe the wild Alaskan salmon, but that may be it. So this is a really important component of fish. And remember, your mama taught you when you grew up that fish was brain food. She was exactly right. It's a neuroprotector. It's a potent intramembrane scavenger of hydroxyl radicals. And this ingredient decreases mental fatigue significantly. It also improves memory, recall, attention span, and the ability to concentrate in adults who are supplemented with this ingredient. So another ingredient that I think you never want to go a day without, actually every one of these, from acetyl L-carnitine to the green tea and all the benefits there, the L-theanine, the dimethyl ethanol, all ingredients you never want to go a day without. Finally, I want to talk about this herb. This is a really exciting herb. It's called Rhodiola Rosea, and it's a herb that's very effective for improving adrenal function. And adrenal function as we age generally becomes weaker because we become stressed. Let me simplify it. If you know an adult, maybe you or a friend or family member, who's stressed day in and day out, maybe their job is not a good job, maybe there's financial stress at home or familial stress with their family, slowly but surely your adrenal function can decline to where you have what they call adrenal fatigue. Now, you're still otherwise healthy, you just happen to be tired a lot, tired all the time. And maybe, unfortunately, this population starts to drink energy drinks all day long just to try to feel normal. Well, the take-home message is there are ways to improve adrenal health. And I've never seen an ingredient better at this than Rhodiola Rosea. Now, it also has brain benefits. Not only does it help support healthy adrenal function or improve adrenal function, which improves your brain and body's ability to produce energy, you just feel more energetic after consuming this ingredient. But beyond that, it has brain health benefits. It seems to be a healthy supporter of the neurotransmitters acetylcholine and dopamine. And dopamine has a lot to do with mood. This ingredient may also positively affect serotonin, which is another mood neurotransmitter associated with depression. So take a look at what the research shows. Studies show rhodiola administration results in significant improvements in patients with stress-related fatigue. These are patients that are tired all the time because of chronic stress, that's day in and day out stress. They now have significant improvements in energy. Depression. Rhodiola significantly improves the symptoms of depression in terms of the Hamilton Rating Scale for depression and the Breck Depression Inventory compared with placebo. And then finally, on the bottom left-hand quadrant of your screen, you see anxiety. Individuals treated with rhodiola extract showed significant decreases in anxiety as measured by scores on the Hamilton Anxiety Rating Scale. So this ingredient, extraordinarily important for adrenal health, which today is really important for people who are stressed. That, by the way, I believe is most people. The United States Psychological Association believes that 70% of our population fall into the category of being stressed. And I don't know about you, but it's more than 70% of the people I know, typically. So this ingredient is incredibly important for stressed people. So Rhodiola Rosea, important for adrenal health, and it also has significant brain building and enhancing benefits. So the ingredients that we've talked about today are acetyl L-carnitine, green tea. What's magic about green tea are the polyphenols, the EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate, and the caffeine, the L-Theanine, also the ingredient dimethyl amino ethanol, and then finally Rhodiola Rosea. Now, in the Brighter Mind book, there are certainly more nutrients to talk about. As I mentioned, I could spend this entire day talking about brain nutrition. It's my fascination. What I love about this category is when you show somebody the information like I just shared with you, and you could provide for them a convenient way to take these ingredients on a daily basis, it literally can be a life-changing event for them. For a dad, say, for example, who's 40 or 50, who wakes up tired all the time, and he's just not as productive as he used to be. He comes home from work, and he's a good dad, but he's tired all the time, so all he wants to do is sit on the couch and veg out. Well, with these energetic nutrients and an improvement in his diet alone, you can expect that dad to come home with energy to spare, to engage in playing with and being with his kids, to do projects around the house. I've had women tell me that with these bioenergetic nutrients, they've got their husband back. One lady in particular told me that her husband was always in the lazy boy chair, always complaining and irritable. And suddenly he's asking to go on walks with her. He's gardening. He's out of that lazy boy chair. He's engaging with her like he did when he was younger. She said, Dr. Kyle Smith, I've got my husband back. These nutrients can make an incredible change in a college-age student. Let's say there's somebody who's 20 or 30. Let's say 20, and they're in college, and you know what? They've started to lean in the energy drink direction because they need energy because they're tired all the time. These bioenergetic enhancing botanical and nutrient ingredients can be a life changer for them. These ingredients typically sell very well on university bookstores and platforms once students know what they are. And that's the same thing for people in their 50s and 60s. If they're looking for improved memory and they want to protect what they've got, these nutrients are absolute essentials for daily function. So in short, And literally, this was just the cliff notes out of the Brighter Mind book. In short, you want to consume a healthy, antioxidant-rich diet on a daily basis. I don't believe any nutrient, by the way, can take the place of a lousy diet. You just really need to start with a good foundation, and that's an antioxidant-rich, brain-enhancing diet for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. And then after that, you want to add these brain building, brain enhancing, bioenergetic, botanical, and nutrient ingredients, well substantiated and proven in science. And then the third thing that you really don't want to go a day without is some form of physical exercise. Science today is showing that our bodies and brains were built to move, that we literally have to move on a daily basis. And that movement, physical movement, actually improves neurotransmitters in the brain. Did you know, by the way, that there's science that shows with exercise alone, you can eliminate the symptoms of depression? That in fact, any patient that's depressed or irritable, they need to be moving. They need to be exercising on a daily basis. In the Brighter Mind book, I share with you exactly how to exercise for healthy brain function. But the take-home message is you need to exercise physically a little bit, at least 10 minutes every day. And that supercharges brain cells. You can't replace that with anything else. And all of this combined, there's magic. That's not a scientific term, but when you eat right, you exercise, and you take these brain-building nutrients on a daily basis, let me tell you, I myself, personally, I feel like I'm at my best. I feel fantastic when I do that. And boy, can I feel it if I miss these brain nutrients. And boy, can I feel it if I don't eat right and exercise. So for me, my life every day, I integrate these 3 steps: the nutrition, the diet, the exercise into my life. And I want to encourage you to do the very same. So I want to thank each and every one of you for spending this Saturday with me. I hope this was incredibly valuable. I want you to share this with your friends and your family. I want you to share it with everybody you know. I want you to be, if I may say so, a missionary for these brain health nutrients, and take a look at the lives that you improve. Thank you again for spending time with me. I hope you know my passion is to reach out and heal, help, and serve people, millions of people around the world with this message. And if you help me get it out, I will be deeply grateful and appreciative. Until next time, I appreciate you and I thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful, blessed weekend. Bye-bye.